yard. The slave yard is the places where the Portuguese used to keep the pregnant women, because at the end of the day, if they come with the Portuguese, if they come with the Africans here, they will use some of them as sex slaves for their own profit. Because at the end of the day, if those people are pregnant, if they are taken to America, they used to sell them two in one because they consider the baby inside. So those type of people, if they bring here, they are put into a very good place, because there were hot houses like this one in the slave yard where the pregnant women would be kept for their own profit. And in the slave yard here also is where you will see like the branding iron. There is the place where the Portuguese used to light fire and put hot iron there. This is what they used to brand them with, so they can identify them, because if they are put in the boat, they lose a lot number of people on board. So at the end of the day, they will not know like the slave that died here, which company does he belongs to. So there is a need, if they brought here before they will leave the fort, they will be branding them here before they will leave the fort. So let's walk around inside and we see some of these parts of the building. If you have any questions, also you can ask.
Can you show me the part that's been eroded again? The part
Yeah, all this part is eroded now. We are only left with the administrative center here right now. All this part is in the water. So when the water is low tide, you will see some of these ruined buildings here.
So what are you guys going to do to protect the rest of it?
Yeah, there is money pumped by UNESCO to make sure that the island is preserved, and they move 100 meters away of the water to preserve the island and put a seawall there to make sure that erosion doesn't affect the island.
As a family, we're here at Kunta Kinte Island, formerly known as James Island. And this is a map of the Gambia, and you can see how the Gambia River is what splits the Gambia from north to south. As we sailed, we came in and we just dock right here, and now we're just doing that walking tour.
You see a small island called the Dock Island. But then in that island, when the water is low tide, the local people can walk into that island. So the Portuguese feel they were not very safe in that island, because if they captured people into that island, if the local people want to rescue their people, they can walk into the island and find their people. This is the time they walk some kilometers away, like 20 kilometers away from that island. They saw this island. They feel like this island was a very strategic location, because as you can see, that's the north bank of the river. And if you go to the other side, you see the south bank of the river. So the island is in between and is in the middle of the river Gambia. So any slave that is captured and brought into the island here, there is no means for you to escape here. So all the slaves would be kept here for a couple of 2 weeks. At the end of the day, they will be transported to America. And the worst part of it is that, like in the days of slavery, if anybody died on the ship or on the boat, you would be thrown in the water, because by that time they don't regard Africans as human beings, but then they treated them like goods rather than human beings. So the first name of the island was St. Andrews Island. This was the time the Portuguese came to the island here, and one of their sailors died here from malaria. Then they named the island after him, St. Andrews Island. So when the British took over the fort from the Portuguese, the British named it after James Island, which was named after James, Duke of York in England. So on the 6th of February 2011, because every 2 years we used to have our Roots Festival, this is the time, like we were lucky, one of the Michael Jackson's brother came here, called Jermaine Jackson. So he suggested to our president that why not we change the name of with our former president Yaya Jammeh. He suggested to him that why not we change the name of the fort to an African name, because this island have been going through the names of Europeans for how many years? For a period of 400 years. So to keep our own legacy and to keep our own history, we need to change the name of the fort. Then they decided, like, who are we going to name the island after? They said, let's name the island after Kunta Kinte Island, because Kunta Kinte was a victim who was brought into the island here, who was captured in the village there, where we will be going later to see. and he was brought into the island here for a couple of 2 weeks, then transported to America where he was sold to Annapolis. So they said like, let's name the island after Kunta Kinte to keep his legacy for the generations to come. This was the year they changed the name of the fort to Kunta Kinte Island, as you can see here. So when Kunta also was taken to America, on 3 occasions he was always trying to escape, because Kunta was very, very stubborn. He was always trying to fight the Europeans just to make sure that he would free himself from slavery, because he was not from a slave caste. Because in Africa at that time we have slavery and slave trade, but not like the Europeans used to do. Because the type of slavery we were having is that, like, if we were living in kingdoms by that time, so if my kingdom fought with your kingdom and my people happen to capture your war prisoner, your fighters, I will use them as war prisoners. So these are the people, like, if they come to the village, they will be given to as slaves, and they will brought them into the island here. But then when the Portuguese came here, they changed this mentally totally, because they were forcefully going into the village, in the inland of the village, capturing people into the slavery and bringing them into the island here for a couple of 2 weeks. And there was one time, like, the king, when they were, because the king, when he was in the village, he was never realizing like where his people are going, because when the people go to the forest, he will never see them. When people go to the farms, he will never see them again. So this was the time he organized 500 young men to come and rescue their people from the island here. But then that day was a very, very sad day, because those 500 young men, what the Portuguese used to do is like they wait until these people were closer to them, then they used these cannons to fight against them. What we were using to fight was bow and arrows and cutlasses. So these Europeans were using like these gunpowders and these cannons to fight us. This is why they overpowered us. This is why we were so dumb, and we were taken into America as slaves. We can come in here and
So the soldiers too.
Yeah, exactly.
Also as slaves, we weren't still free, right? It was so ingrained, it's unbelievable. So that was the album. So the water is deep enough here that the boats came right to the fort.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlike a lot of places, they used to sell them out to the boats.
Yeah.
Here they could come.
Yeah, here they could come in here, because any slave captured in this part of Africa, here was the place that you will be kept. In all this part of Africa, if you're captured into slavery, here was where you will be kept and for 2 weeks and wait for the ship, because it depends on the wind. And the journey, for it to be quicker, it depends on like the wind also, because if the ship that is brought is full from this island, so the journey would be very, very quick, because they will go direct. But then if the ship that is brought to take slaves here is not filled up from this island here, this is the time they have to pass through Golan Island and load the ship. Until when the ship is full, then they will depart the journey. So if the slave masters, if you are brought here and they know that you are weak, you cannot make it through the journey, what they will just do is they will just throw you in the water, and you will be food for animals. That's why by that time we have a lot of wildlife like the crocodiles that were in the fort here, because of the dead bodies that they used to throw in the river. So just like I show you in the map, here was the place where they used to keep the water for the slaves. Like in the rainy season, they will collect rainwater here, but then the water is always contaminated, because of the upper part here is not covered. So if slaves drink from this water, they will have cholera. While the Portuguese, if they themselves want to drink, they will go into the mainland there, where we have their substation, where they have the wells and the gardens. So they will go there and drink their own water, which they will drink with. But they don't mind about the slaves and the Africans in general. This is the water that they will give to them. And if those people drink from this water, they will have diseases like cholera. So most of them, that will disturb them, and they will die before they will leave the joint.
So how did the water get in here? Rain?
Now in the rainy season, because you know the upper part is not covered, they will just collect water heater. Like in this time of the year, which is not rainy season, they will go into the mainland with their barrels, because there are wells in the mainland in the San Domingo. Then they will fill all the barrels with water, and they will roll them to the shore and put them in small boats and bring them into the island here. and load it to the area like where we have a couple of 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, because all slaves that are captured here, at the end of the 2 weeks, they will all be transported. So here is where they kept the water for those people. And come into the underground, please.
Oh, underground too.
Watch your stuff.
This is the underground prison.
Watch your stuff.
We're heading to the underground, but before that, the underground prison, where they collected the
You got a flash? This is far as the door.
Yeah.
Did they do male and female prisons?
No, here is only male slaves that are captured here. Here, just like I explained to you furthermore, like here was the places, those people that were captured into slavery, because if I was not born into slave caste or slave trade, it would be very, very easy for somebody to just capture me into slavery and want to bring me into the island here as a slave. So those type of people, if they come here, they try to fight so aggressively just to free themselves from slavery. So those type of people, if they brought here, here is where they used to keep them. And can you imagine 20 people would be kept in this small room and the door would be closed, all their food and stuff, they will push it through this window here. So it's like the survival of the fittest. Those who are fit is the only people that will have the access to the food. People like Kunta Kinte were kept here for 2 weeks and they only come close contact to you in 2 occasions. That is, if they're bringing you in the fort here, and if you are finally leaving the island to the ship and where you will be shipped to America. This is the only 2 occasions that they come close contact to you. But then all the pee and the urine would be done here. If 20 people are kept in this small room, 10 would die before they would leave because of the bad smell that they took from here. So 20 people would be kept in this small room compared to the place where I will show you later, where the Europeans used to keep only their armories, the gunpowder, the weapons. The weapon room is bigger than, is 5 times bigger than the place where they used to keep these African slaves here. Because at that time, they don't regard those people as human beings, but then they treated them like goods rather than human beings. So people like Kunta were kept here. And in this iron here, there was a big iron like a chain, where if we go to the museum, you will see it. So this iron here is where they will change their hands and legs, just to make sure that these people calm down. Because if these people are aggressive, the most thing that make them lose a lot of number of people on board is that when they are put into the ship, most of them try to make rebellion. So if they try to make rebellion, they will lose a lot number of people on board. So to calm those people down in the fort here, they will bring them into these small dungeons, just to make sure that they torture them physically and mentally, and they will give them food once a day, just to make sure that they keep them alive, just to make sure that they weak them. If they are in the boat, they will not make any rebellion against their masters. So this is the idea. That's why they put those people here for a couple of 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, they will be put in the ship and transported to America.
It's the window right there.
Any question, please ask.
Yeah, you can ask. We are here for
So
you.
they only ate once a day?
Yeah, slaves, if they are put into this small dungeon here, you are punished, because they don't want you to feed you to an extent where you can fight back to them. So they give you like a meal once a day.
And this is the steps going out. Oh, it's tight.
You were asking something?
This is tight. Very tight quarters.
Boy. Huh? Okay, okay. You were asking something?
They fed y'all to keep y'all calm.
You said they changed them to the wall?
Yeah, in the museum, if you go, you will see all the artifacts that they brought, taken from the fort here when the slavery was finally over.
So us people that didn't eat, we some better off.
When he brought them out, they would rebel. No,
Some of them
they
were
were
actually kings.
enslaved. No slaves were taken from here. Free people were taken, but enslaved. Broken people.
If they're taking the
I
whole
feel
village,
like
that
That's
means
humility, you
you
know,
know,
one
kings
folk.
and
That's the truth. That is
and a
the
king
truth
won't sit
because
around you.
So family, we're here at Kunta Kinte Island, formerly known as James Island, and we're connecting to the historical root store. We got a good question before you get started.
All right.
Sister Teresa, can you come up front to break something down, please? Yes. She made a great point, and sometimes I have to explain this information to the guides.
You know, the back is information.
That our people weren't slaves.
We weren't taken. We were kings and queens and tradesmen and all of that. We were broken, but we weren't slaves here. We weren't enslaved until they got us over there to the Caribbean.
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm talking
And
about.
on that boat.
So we keep on referring to our people as slaves.
Yeah, they didn't live here as slaves.
They were enslaved, and we have to also.
This is what we always keep saying, because we were not people that were born into slavery, but then we were enslaved by the Europeans. So that's why to use that names like we were slaves is not a proper thing. We were enslaved, because
Well,
these
thank you for the
Europeans, what they
correction.
normally do is they will come to the village and forcefully capture people into slavery. So that's not about slavery, because we were enslaved into slavery. So you cannot call somebody a slave, because that person is not willing to get into that property, but he was forcefully taken into slavery. So it's called enslaved.
Well, appreciate the clarity that way, because that way anyone who's listening, they can not be miseducated.
Exactly.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
So
Appreciate
here
you, Teresa.
was, just like I tell you, here was the slave yard. And in the slave yard here is where they kept the pregnant women for their own interest. Because at the end of the day, they will sell them 2 in 1, because they will consider the baby inside. So in the days of the slavery also, here was the front elevation of the fort. That is the back side of the fort. And here we used to be the harbor of the fort in the days of slavery. But then because erosion affected this place, that's why the government decided to shift it to the other end here. But in the days of slavery, there used to be the entry point of the fort. And in here is where they used to light fire and put the hot iron there. If you go to the museum, you will see the iron carrying their company image, and they will brand some of these African slaves. Because what they normally said is like, those African slaves, they used to look alike. So if they lost a lot of number of people on board, they wouldn't know, like the slave that died, which company does he belongs to. So before they will leave the fort, they will put hot iron here, and they will brand all the slaves. So all the slaves would be carrying the company mark before they will leave the fort.
So they actually took royalty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they actually took royalty and then turned us into slaves.
Yeah, turn us into slaves.
Yes.
But you still keep abusing the word slaves.
Yes, we enslaved.
Yeah, we
Yes,
were
enslaved.
We've said that to him several times.
Cigarettes.
So here is the councilor's room. The councilor was the one responsible for making records in the fort here. Like he was the one responsible for writing the names of the people that were captured here, and how many people were captured, and how many people left the fort. But then when the slavery and slave trade was finally over, these people, what they normally do is like they burn all these books to make sure that we don't know how many people were captured in this part of Africa and enslaved. So here is the councilor's room. He was the one responsible for making records, and he was the one also responsible for changing African names to European names, just to make sure that the Africans lose their identity. That's why we have a lot of number of blacks in America that lose their identity today, because all their names were changed from African names to European names. As you watch the movie, because when Kunta was captured and he was taken to America, on several occasions he was being beaten for him to change his name to Toby. But Kunta refused to change his name to Toby because if they are beating him, if they are asking him, what is your name? He always tell them that my name is Kunta Kinte and I am from Gambia Bolong, which means the Gambia River, in a small village called Jufre. So that's why it was very, very easy for Alex Haley to trace his roots, because Kunta Kinte refused to change his name to Toby. That's why he was the only African American, also the first African American to trace his roots in Africa here, Alex Haley, because of Kunta Kinte refused to change his name to Toby. Here was the governor's room. The governor is the boss man in the fort here, and he was the one responsible for everything in the fort here. But in the building here, it used to be like two-story building. But because in 1725, a gunpowder exploded here, because there is an oven closer to the gunpowder house here. Because of the heat of the oven, that made the explosion took place. And that day, there were 17 soldiers, European soldiers on guard that day, and 12 of them lost their life because of the gunpowder explosion that took place in the fort here. That's why today you cannot see like no roof in the fort here, because of the explosion that took place here, and because of the war between the British and the French. So that's why still that is not rebuilt. It's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So that's why if you want to make any maintenance in the fort here, you have to go to the UNESCO office to make sure you consult them before doing anything in the fort here. So here was the gunpowder house. Just like I tell you, here was the places where the Europeans used to keep all their gunpowder, armories and everything, the mirrors. So if you see, this house is far more bigger than the house where they used to keep 20 people. Because by that time, they don't regard us as human beings. But then they always treat us like goods rather than human beings. You can see this big house was only for the gunpowder and the armories, compared to the people where, to the house where they used to keep 20 people in that small room. So it wasn't fair at all. You can see there, Danya, there is no gunpowder, but because this side of the building is very, very old. Because in the Gambia here, this is part of our school curriculums. We have to teach the young generation about the history that transpired here. So students always come to the fort here to visit. So that's why an instruction is made for them not to be getting closer to the wall, because this is very old. It can fall down at any time.
There you go, family. Danger.
Here was their dining room. The dining room is a place where the Europeans, like, when they want to eat, they will come here and eat and enjoy everything that they want to do in this room here. While they will be giving to the Africans, like every day they will give them one food a day. One food a day while they will be here enjoying, they will eat to their satisfaction. Because those people, when they were in the village, they used to eat up to their satisfaction. But then when they brought here, their right is seized from them. They will be given food once a day, just to make sure that they keep them alive, and to make sure that they weaken them, for them to not make rebellion on board when they are transporting them to America. Yeah, here is the dining room. This is the barber fruit. This is the barber fruit. Like if you bake the fruit here, you will have this white knot here. You can chew this one like this, and if you want also, you can put it in the bottle and put small water there and put sugar there. This is very, very good, like when you have a running stomach. Most of the people, we use it here. So the fruit is very, very important for us. And the leaves also, leaves of the baobab, like in this type of the year, you will not see the leaves right now. You can only see them when the rain is coming closer. So we use the leaves. When you pound it, you have the powder. The powder, when you put it like in the couscous, it will help you to swallow it very, very easy. So it's a very, very important tree. And in those days also, what our elders normally used to do is like they will cut some part of the tree, which they will use as ropes. They will use them to fetch water. So the baobab is a very, very important fruit here in the Gambia.
So what is that called?
The baobab fruit.
thing that we drank today. So they made a drink that we
Yeah,
drank.
they made a drink from this, but this one is not good.
It's silky on the
Yeah.
outside. I don't feel it. It feels like velvet.
In the morning, yeah, it's very nice. It's very good for the stomach, especially when you have an on stomach. Yeah, these are the fruits.
But it's supposed to help with your stomach.
If you break it, you have this one. You put it in water, and you have the bubble. This is what they normally give to people like in the hotel areas when you have another stuff.
Did you drink any of that this morning?
No. Didn't get any juice, but I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I don't think I've had that juice.
Careful, y'all. It's short step. No, they don't call it branding. They call it tattooing. But to me, it's the same thing.
The same like
The
branding.
same thing. You're branding yourself.
Here is the last point of the fort here right now. But then this cannon was brought here when slavery was finally over. But then here was like the barracks where the Portuguese and the Europeans normally stayed. And here was used as a lighthouse where they would stand on top and see like every boat that is coming into the fort here and attacking them. So that's why it was not possible for people to attack them and rescue their people here, because these Europeans were having cannons all over the island, and they make sure they fight everybody that is coming into the fort here and attacking them. But then this cannon was brought here finally when the slavery was finally over, because in 1807 this was the time the law was made that slavery and slave trade is illegal. We don't need slaves and slave trade in the British Empire. So this is the time they brought this cannon here to make sure that they fight against any ship that is coming into the interior part of this Africa and collecting people, enslaving them. This was the time they brought this cannon here. The British were thinking like they were smart, because at first they were involved into slavery and slave trade. At the end, they were trying to abandon slave trade for people not to blame them like they were not in the slave trade, because they were the ones that brought these cannons here just to make sure that to pretend to people that they were not part of slavery. This is why they bring this cannon here. And in the mainland there also, they have another big cannon here to make sure they intercept any slave ship that is coming into the island here to collect slaves. So in the panel here is where you see like the original map of the island, including the hot houses that I was telling you about, where they keep the pregnant women.
Show it again.
Okay, so here is the place, is the panel that is carrying like the original model of the island, how it used to be very big before, because in the days of slavery this was 3 times bigger than the size you are seeing today. But because of erosion, that's why we lose a lot part of it right now. And this was the slave yard, just like I tell you, where they used to keep some of the pregnant women in these hot houses, because it's cooler inside here. So here was the front elevation of the fort. This bastion is the one you are seeing over there, and is the one that is having the underground prison under. This way the cistern where they used to keep the water, and this one is the other one that is having the cannon here. So we are standing here right now. This one is there, that is having the smaller cannon here. So we are here right now. So all this part now is in the water because of erosion. So we are only left with this part here. That's why.
Is it intact underwater?
Yeah, no, it's not intact because it's in ruins right now. When the water is low tide, if you walk in, you can see some of these ruined buildings that were in the fort here right now. So when the law also was passed, like in 1830, that slavery is finally over, It was already, this find already like, there were 500 young men here that were enslaved and brought into the island here. But then when the law was passed that we don't need any slaves in America and in this part of Europe right now, what the slave masters did was so terrible, because they can take those people back to the mainland and give them back to their families. But then what they ask those people is that you have to buy your freedom. Buying your freedom in a way that you have to swim from the island here to the mainland. There is a freedom flagpole. So anyone that made it from the island here to the freedom flagpole, then you are a free slave. But then by that time, swimming was not a main sport in the Gambia. So all the people that attempted to swim across the river to the mainland, all of them drowned in the river because of that. To my own idea, this was like they were trying just to kill them mentally. Because if you ask somebody that cannot swim to swim from the island here to the mainland, which is 5 kilometers, it's very, very impossible for people to swim from here to the mainland.
Man, Michael Phelps couldn't make it over there.
They made it, they were trying to make it
Or any of these super white swimmers or super swimmers.
500 young men, 500 young men. None of them made it. From here.
Not one.
None of them made it.
No one would have made it today
It's
either.
very, very strong. And from the island here to the mainland is 5 kilometers. So none of them was able to make it from here to the island.
And they have ships, they can just take them and throw them there.
or even just put two wood together and give them the opportunity.
Yeah, because they
to
clear
live.
everything when they were going, they spoil everything. Not for us to use it.
So it's like their way of hunting games, you know, watch them.
Yeah, the British were trying to play a camouflage game. Because when they abolished the slave trade in Yorkshire, they were just trying to fool people.
So far so good. This is what we have for you in the fort here right now.
If you have any questions,
If you have any question also you can ask. We are still here for you and we will answer your questions.
Come on, family. I know everybody got lots
This
of
is a
questions.
period of
This is
400 years. So it cannot be just talked into one day. If I want to talk about the old history, I can be here till the following morning. But we just have to keep the important part of the history. Okay.
absolutely, brother.
So after doing these tours over the years, what are some of the weirdest questions from the other parties?
the British or what?
Yeah, some of them accept the fact that what their people do here was very, very wrong. But then the most shocking part is that some of them, especially like when we have the Portuguese tourists here, if they come here, if you ask them, if you tell them like the Portuguese were the first people that started slavery and slave trade into this part of Africa, they will see themselves, because they will say that was not true, and our people cannot capture your people into slavery. Your people were your African kings were the people that were giving us as slaves.
Yes, that's what they're gonna say.
To those type of people, you know, when I come with you to this island here, I have to tell you the actual fact that happened in the fort here. Despite the fact that your caller, I don't care about that. If I come to the island here, I have to tell you what your people did to our people. It was something that is normal. So it's left to you. If you want to accept it, you accept it. If you don't want, it's up to you. But then I have to tell you the true part of the history. This is what we always do.
You have a question now, Leonor?
No, she was just saying
Well, I
that.
have a
Shay,
question.
okay.
I know that, you know, the government needs money. I know this is a tourist site, but have you ever considered banning these devils from coming to certain sites? Because some of this stuff is sacred.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
You know, and they owe, and we owe. And we can't turn everything into money, but I know it's important for the government to have money, of course, but I'm saying just certain sections, not the whole thing, because I know it's important to the economy.
To be honest, even we ourselves, like seeing these white people here is not something that we like seeing every day, because it's very, very bad for you to be seeing your enemy coming to visit you every day. Because these Portuguese, these people were our enemies, that we are taking our own people that should develop Africa, and they enslave those people and take them from this part of the world to another world where we know nothing about. So those people that should develop Africa today, those were the people that were taken into slavery. So it's not a normal thing to be seeing those people coming here to visit every day. But we can't do anything about it, because the government is the people that is taking money from those people just for their selfish interest, but then they don't care about the people's feelings who were enslaved in this 40 years.
Thank you.
Yes, just as he was saying, I can remember 1997 when President Jammeh was so vexed with them and he insulted the British embassy. That's the time we start seeing them coming down. The tourism was just going down. they say the president is trying to disturb the economy of the country because of tourists is going down. You know, for him personally, he was very much concerned about what have happened, and he was not happy with White. So it was that's the time. Even most of these ships used to come, like I can remember Lady Njeme and the other board, the Spanish
crew, yeah.
the Spanish board. They all have to sell their boats. I can remember Captain.
This one.
He was having 2 ships that used to bring tourists here.
Antonia and the
Jovet Antonia, and then, you know.
Yeah.
So all those things they have to stop because the president was not giving them enough encouragement. You know, when they go to pay their license, it was trapped. So if you don't have a license to operate, you can't work. So people are saying, oh, Yajame is not good. He's trying to, you know, so dictator. But I think to be a dictator and fight for your right is more important than to be a Democrat and try to be a slave still. Now we are still being slave by because of our mind consent. So these are some of the issues.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Appreciate it, brother.
How often are the school children from Gambia,
yeah.
how often are they taught, are they currently being taught what happened here?
Like in schools now, it's part of the school curriculums. Like, yeah, if you the moment you are in school, you have to be told about this history.
Okay.
Because I can remember at first when I was in school, this was the time they started this with the students. At first, it was not part of our school curriculum, but in my time, it was part of our school curriculum. You have to start for exams because of the history here. So students would be brought here for them to see, and they will explain the history to them, so they can know what to write on their papers because it's part of the school curriculum.
That's what I wanted you to share.
Thank you.
So from here right now, if you don't have any question, you can take your pictures. All right.
So the Portuguese were the ones who came
You talk about it.
slaves?
Sir.
Oh, okay.
Portuguese were, it was not like the only Portuguese. The Portuguese were the first people that started slavery and slave trade here. At first, their mission was not like slavery and slave trade. They were here to teach people about Christianity. But after all, they changed the system and started to take people into slavery and slave trade. After that, this is the time the British come over. Then the French come over. After the French took the fort from the British, this is the time the British went, and they came back again and fought the French in the fort here and take the fort from the British. And it was finally over in 1830. This was the time they bring this cannon here and the cannon and the mainland there to make sure that they intercept any slave ship that is coming into this part of Africa. But then after on, they see to it like this was not a strategic location. So to control like slave ships from coming to this part of Africa to collect slaves, you have to go to Fort Bland and in Banjul, where you have the mouth of the river Gambia. So if you control the mouth of the river Gambia, then you will control the whole Gambia. Though no slave ship would be able to come into the Gambia to collect slaves. This is the time we have like the 6-gun batteries in Banjul, which is now in the State House. That was the time they put these 6-gun batteries there to make sure they fight any slave ship that is coming into the Gambia here to collect slaves. And we have Fort Bland also to make sure it helps the 6-gun batteries and make sure they stop any slave ship that is coming in to collect slaves.
Thank you.
So far so good. This is what we have for now, and if we go to the mainland, there would be somebody that would be taking you to the museum. Though there was no guide here, that's why I have to give you an explanation in the fort here. So if you have like anything from your heart,
like
if you don't, this is what we do for our living. If you have anything for your heart, to the tour guide, you can give it out here because we don't charge people, but then we do our best of what we can do. And if you have anything from your heart, you give it that. We go to the museum where you will see some of the artifacts that we are picking from the fort here. Some of their guns they were using, the chains and the cuffs and all the stuff in the museum.
People will take them.
Yeah.
Maybe if the monkeys come here, they want to go and take them back again. They don't want to see this here.
Well, excellent presentation, brother. Appreciate it. And
thank you very much.
Thank you.
and as soon as I'm finished, I got you.
Was the story even passed now?
Story? The story is being passed now.
Get that on.
Young generations for them.
I have to be careful what I'm saying on this. Your thing. Everything's
CFA Franks work also. You take CFA Franks?
Yeah, we do.
CFA francs, dollar season, Senegalese money.
Oh, you do?
Well, it's not really Senegalese money. It's a West African francs.
These?
Yes. It's all. I've been using mine from Senegal for the last few days.
No, there was a movie. But it depicted how
Oh yes, got some change.
saw them, and when they realized the British saw them because they were trying to hide in between someplace, what they did is they put everybody on the chain. They were already on the chain.
So family, that's where we came in and docked, and then we just been making our way around the island so you can just get a nice history of the island.
All the way in the corner under the ship. All the way
As the guides talk about erosion, you're gonna see the breakdown of the island little by little to a smaller and smaller. And then one of the main thing is there is no top part, so little by little it's falling apart. So I don't know how much preservations will work. But while we're living and while we can come here and learn about the history and document it and pass it down, that's our goal, that's our vision. And it's hard to see the land across, but you know what you're looking across is Geographic. So family, definitely just always a sad story and painful. And as you can see, we have Bomani Dakar here, and we have Bryson here. So we have two young generation that we're educating on the history of what happened to our stolen African ancestors.
You gonna get the elder? You want me to?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold it for you. Don't worry. I got you.
So family, appreciate you joining us for us to get you connected on the history of Kunta Kinte Island. All right, Bomani, hold on, photos. So family, we're gonna take some group photos. We could take some on a few parts of the island from right here and also right there. Family, again, let's show you the fort layout.
There's something missing on that.
On the other end, yeah, these things are not upkept.
It had like a tower coming up.
Oh yeah, tower. Unfortunately, all of the top parts are all gone, family. We're gonna take some photos right here.
Yeah, we still have to go to the village, so that's why. And when the sun is down, it will be more wind, so that's the problem.
Everyone, family, let's take a group photo out here, please.
Yes, we take a big photo here, a big shot here.
I remember our brother Usman, like same thing as we did last year,
Yes,
last time, which is 2 years ago.
Except me and you and Rocky and
Yeah,
Juma,
and Juma, my other two
Samuel.
good brothers.
Let's have a family photo here.
So
please.
family, once we take these photos, we're gonna get back on our cruise boat and we're gonna cruise up to Geographic. And once we finish eating lunch on the boat, we're gonna start the other part of our tour.
Wait. Yeah, but you can come in your side. These bowls are here for about 400 years.
You have to stand in front of that.
That's why we believe like if this place can come, we can explain it a lot about